Hello, everybody out there. This is your boy, Goward Horton. Yeah, this is in response to, I just got found out about this guy named Cult of Destiny. Yeah. Um, wow, your name just sounds so enlightened. Cult of Destiny. I mean, I think that's pretty self explanatory. Anyway, it's in response to your dishing out all your insults at Josh Ferguson. Ooh, I mean, you're aggressive, aren't you? So angry. You and the amazing atheist, is it? And your friends. That's first of all, I want to say that, the devil is a very angry being. And you guys just give off that whole devil vibe. You know what I mean? You guys just really, really so angry. And you love to curse and say you hate Christians, yet you say God is hateful. And you keep saying how you hate God, but yet you to say He doesn't exist. I'm just really confused on this. Um, then you talk about science, but then you throw evolution in there, which isn't science. It's just not science. So it's called a theory for a reason. And just because you decide to adopt a theory, just like there's all kinds of theories like parallel universes, doesn't make it true. You can just adapt it all day. You can have 50 different people that teach it as fact, but it's still not fact. It's a theory. It's a theory because until it's proven, it's not true. It's like somebody's imagination they just thought up. And that's exactly what it is. It's an imagination. Now, the Bible talks about vain imaginations. Now, I want to just make a comment on this regarding his $100,000 challenge. Guys, this guy loves you. He loves you more than you love yourself, apparently. And I'm going to give you guys a challenge. How about this? Hey, here's drum roll, please. If you guys will say Jesus is Lord, I'll give you back your own soul. How about that? Oh, that's not important to you? Because you know what? That money won't help you where you're going. Let me tell you, buddy. So, going back to the point. As far as proving God exists, God doesn't exist. Okay. Well, it's this simple. Okay. You don't believe in the Bible, but the Bible is God's message to you. It's God speaking to you. And if anyone has something to say in this argument, I think God would have something to say in it about his own existence. Well, if you read Romans chapter 1, he speaks to the Apostle Paul, and Apostle Paul says, the universe itself is evidence that God exists. Point blank. As you guys have heard before, the old adage, I'm sure many times, if a building exists, there has to be a builder. If there's a car that exists, there has to be some auto mechanic, some maker that put it together. But this is the thing about it that you got to think about. Not only does it exist, but it has to exist with an end result in mind. Where am I going with this? Stay with me. And I hope you guys can follow this and you're not already turning it off because you're so brainwashed you won't even listen to a dissenting voice. Because, of course, you're open-minded, as you say, so you're not going to just turn it off. That would be more like a devil, right? Who wouldn't want you to hear the truth because he's a liar. Oh, yep. That would be more like the devil than someone who was supposed to be free, a free thinker. It would be more like you were enslaved to somebody if you can't listen to something. I mean, if you just can't listen, like as soon as you hear it, you can't even hear. Well, anyway, going back to what I was saying. You see, I'm sitting here listening to this. Okay, now the car, like I was saying, a car is driven by a person. Okay, since it's made for a person, then the person who created the car would have to create a wheel in there that could only be driven by a person with human hands. You don't see dogs driving many cars. You know why? Because the car wasn't made for them. Not to mention, the people who created the car knew that they didn't have the intelligence to drive a car. In fact, their hands are not even made, or their paws are not even formed to drive a car. Now, there's also a pedal in there. Now, how many of you guys would just think, with a show of hands, if I put a bunch of parts, metal parts, into a building, throw all the parts on the floor, and leave it there, then maybe in a week if I come back, a tornado will come through automatically and create a car. And not only will it create a car, it'll create a car that will have the pedals in the right place, have the steering wheel in the right place, because it had forethought to know that I was going to drive that car. That'd be ridiculous, right? To think that just because some wind had power, that it would just all of a sudden put everything in a certain order, with the end result now that a human being would drive that car. Well, that's what you believe as atheists. You believe that a random explosion of that when two particles bumped into each other, somehow just because there was an explosion, then all this decided to turn into a cycle of these different gases coming together, which then created planets and stars, and then that created of course solar systems, which then created galaxies, and then it just kept spinning out of control until finally it slowed down, right? And then it just became these planets, and then they just happened to position themselves in different parts in the solar system in a perfect circular motion around the sun, which just happened to be far enough from other universes that it was able to create its own, solar system and gravity, so that they don't bump into each other, which just happened to have one planet that just happened to be perfectly positioned to be the third planet from the sun, and that just happened to be the one that inhabits life, right? Then that planet just happened to have, particles on there that just decided to come together into complex systems like cells, which then just happened to turn into, greater systems, which became amoebas, which then just happened. I don't even like saying happen so much. This is hard to say it so many times. There's no way all this just happened. Do you understand where I'm going with this? You have to literally ignore thousands of calculations. You have to ignore thousands of transitional forms, which any of you who know what I'm talking about. You have to ignore all the different parts of evolution that you guys talk about. And even though you've heard this before, you guys just go and just kind of glaze over this and just say, those guys are idiots. Just don't listen to them. No, but answer these questions. Where are your transitional forms, people? When you call me an idiot and you call my brother idiot, tell me what the transitional forms are. Then you can call me an idiot. Oh, we have plenty of them. We have Lucy. That's one. That's a half monkey, half human. Does that mean that it's human though? That's another question I have to ask you. Could it be possible that's another species of being? Or is it that it was a short person? That doesn't mean that we evolved from a short person. They're pygmies right now who are short people. And I believe, first of all, in demons. I believe in other creatures, which you guys don't believe in. So you wouldn't have that explanation. You would just think it's another human being just because it's humanoid. Even though some of you believe in aliens and believe in stuff that could have existed before man, you just can't believe that it's another species of being. But obviously, from a biblical standpoint, there's plenty of species that it could be. We know that there's a pre-Adamic kingdom as Christians. But I won't even go into that because you guys won't even, that's going to go over your head because you won't have accepted. Even though you believe in movies like Avatar, which show a whole ecosystem and another life form, having another, almost like another Earth, even though it's supposed to be another planet, it's the tribalism and all this stuff that you guys are pulling on of another ecosystem of beings that are in an Earth-like setting, okay? But anyway, my point is, the devil knows the truth too. He twists it. So there's evidence that there are other life forms. And there's all kinds of skeletons, even for giants and other stuff, which you guys are covering up or don't even know about. But I'll get off that point. My point is, going back to evolution, monkeys are still here. Okay? Primates are still here. There are primates that are like us. But does that mean they are us? Yeah, they have 99%. Okay, you guys said they have 99% of our DNA, but we found out a banana has 99% sharing DNA with us. That doesn't mean that it was ordered the same way. You see, that's the whole thing. There's so much raw information here, so much raw particles, that the fact that each of these atoms shaped into individual life forms using the same raw particles makes no sense unless somebody shaped them there. It's like you put clay on the ground and you shape this into this and you shape that into that. You shape this into a car, you shape that into a bird, but it's the same raw material. Well, basically, we're all made of the same raw material, molecules, atoms, and stuff. And it's what shapes all of us. But yet, we all are different and unique. Then why is it when it comes to human beings, we're all made the same on the inside, but on the outside, we have little differences, like our hair color, our skin color. You guys say, well, it's because we started off in Africa, which was Pangea at the time, and the plates separated, and then we went to different parts of the world, and then we spread out. So then we changed our color, and our blood thickened, our hairs, changed, and so forth. Okay, I'll give you that. But then you have to ask the question, why? Why were we able to adapt like that in whatever climate we were? Why are there so many different versions of us? Now you have to ask the question, but why aren't we different on the inside? Why isn't people that lived in the Arctic didn't create, actually change more into a different type of form of human? Why is it they didn't, their lung structure didn't really change that much? I mean, maybe adapted a little bit, but it did not change. Where am I going with this? My point is, according to evolution, in order for a certain species to survive, another version of it dies off, and then the stronger ones survive, then they evolve, and they change into something else. But humans have not changed into something else, folks. What we've done is we've learned how to adjust, and then we actually have the ability to create tools, to create clothing. Animals don't do that. Animals have tools for their particular environment. Like, yes, they're birds that make sticks into tools, but they don't turn them into, they don't make a vending machine so they can have some easier food and have worms in there. They don't make a vending machine because they don't have that intelligence. They don't need to have that intelligence. That's what's the problem with the movie, Planet of the Apes, because they have too much intelligence. Because mad scientists who want to prove evolution decide they're going to give them too much intelligence, folks. That's where you guys are going, mutating stuff, thinking it's going to bring us forward. That's why people are creating these monsters right now, because of evolution. Survival of the fittest is more responsible for more murders and death than anything in the world, because it makes you believe you are of a favored race. They're superior human beings versus others. That's what the basis of this stuff is. It's the same belief that there's one better than the other. But when you understand we're all created equal, this was the basis of the Constitution. Why we have free rights, why we have morality, why we care about the human life and the human spirit, is because we're all created equal. If we're not created, there's no such thing as rights. And no matter how much the ACLU tries to say they're about rights, rights are an illusion. It's just a word that you use to say that you're going to try to do something right. But it doesn't really mean anything, because there's no ultimate order. There's no ultimate law. There's no order. There's no order. If there's no order, there's no freedom. I'll use this example. If you go to a stoplight, okay, now let's say you remove the stoplights. Okay, whenever that happens, you see a stoplight broken. See, everybody tries to drive into an intersection. Okay, when they drive into an intersection, then they have to have an honor system. One goes, and then the next person goes, then the next person goes, right? They have to choose who's going to go first, who's going to go second, who's going to go third. Now, in our laws, we usually say the person to our right goes first, right? If it's a four-way intersection. But if it's like a two-way intersection, you got to wait till the next people go. But if it's a four-way intersection, you usually let the people go to your right, as far as I know, right? I could sue me if I'm wrong on that, okay? Well, don't sue me. Don't sue me. Okay? But if you're right, if they're on your right, you let them go. So my point is, but eventually, let's just say that light's gone for like a week. Can you imagine the chaos that'll ensue? Eventually, people will start taking on themselves that, hey, I should be first, I should be second, or I have something to I have something to do that's more important than what you had to do. Now what happens is no one has freedom because everyone's trying to go at the same time. If there's not one lawgiver, one central figure that tells everybody when to go, gives them equal time and freedom, then they all will lose their freedom. Do you get what I'm saying? Without order, there's no freedom. And so in the same way, that's what that stoplight does for us. Even though we all have to rush, we all have things we have to do, and sometimes it might be more of an emergency for some of us. We all have to leave at the same time. When the red light turns green, we have to go when it says to go. Now, in the same way, God has created His law to keep order, to tell you when to go, what to do. It does not take away your freedom, it enhances your freedom. God enhances our freedom. He gives us freedom with order. And love without freedom is not love at all. God is love. And freedom without order is not freedom at all. You see, that's the whole lie of Satan. That they're it's like the people who want to be rebels and want to street race to say these speed limits are inhibiting me from being free. I want to be free. I want to drive 80 miles an hour in a school zone. I want to be free. I don't care what's going on. If kids are walking across the street or if pedestrians or old ladies are in this place. If I want to go 80 miles an hour, I have a car that can go 80 miles an hour. Because I have a car that goes 80 miles an hour, it must mean that I have the purpose to drive 80 miles an hour wherever I want to. But see, there's a place for you to drive 80 miles an hour. And there's a place not to drive 80 miles an hour. You see, someone had forethought and thought that out. Well, in the same way, for instance, you guys get mad at God because you feel like you can't have sex to get married. But then, so you want to have sex with anything that moves. And well, God gave me this body and I can have sex, so he must want me to have sex with everything that moves. But then all the kids that we have out of wedlock, and all the parents, all the kids who don't have parents, all these babies getting murdered, all this, these kids grow up angry and whatever, and get up into a foster system because people are having sex without thinking about the consequences. That's one of those just examples of why we should at least try to be married, try and respect marriage. I'm just giving that as an example. Or for instance, why do we need police? They uphold the law. Now I'm not talking about police. Some of them are not doing right, but the good police, they uphold the law. That's their job. But there had to be a law in the first place. And one of those laws is don't steal from people. When you're driving down the street, the reason why somebody didn't come and steal from your car and steal your radio or whatever is because there was a law in place. There was a law in place that if they stole from that, there'd be a consequence. That would be good if everyone just observed and respected each other's rights to their own space. If they had that internal morality, then we wouldn't need police. And see, that's what God does for us in our hearts. If you do it with morality in your heart, you don't need a policeman to come and take you to jail. And you don't have no consequences because you're not a criminal. But once you go against the law, the police have to get you because what you're doing is now infringing on other people's freedom. Well, that's why there has to be a place called jail for criminals. And once you go to crime, go to jail, you're all the same. And the rules change. When you get in jail, there's certain freedoms you don't have anymore. If they start beating you up, sometimes the police might turn the other way because guess what? You're all lawless. They may try to help y'all to stop each other, but basically, what's the difference? If y'all get beat up in jail, because you're all lawless. It's a place where you can be lawless, they can be lawless. Well, that's what hell is like. It's a place where God's law is not there. His love is not there. His order is not there. It's a place where the devil's way of doing things, which is without God or making you your own God, rules. So therefore, if someone wants to come and rape you and beat you, and then just because they're stronger than you, they can overtake you. No one's going to say that was wrong because like the famous atheist or Satanist said, might makes right. So according to the devil, whoever has the might, which will definitely be demons in hell, will make what's right. And if they want to torture you, behead you, whatever, they have the might, they'll make that right. But when God is in charge, he does what's truly right. He fights for the innocent and the just. And even when God, if he did any penalties in the Old Testament, it was to be an adherent against this sinful nature. It was to be a warning so that others would not follow the desire to murder or kill. Because he knew that this new nature and this devil was on the earth tempting people, and this being will never stop trying to tempt people because people are made in the image of God. People are made in the very image of the one he hates. When he looks at you, he sees God. So what does he do? He can't destroy God. He wanted to be God. He couldn't overtake him. So he hates him just because he can't be him. So then he tries to take you down because you're made in his image. And he wants to make you hate yourself and hate God. And that's what he finds as his trophies. And you can believe all this is a bunch of fictitious stuff, and you can be a slave if you want to. But that's what you are as a slave. Because knowledge is power. And once you have the knowledge, then you can find out. But sometimes being a slave is not knowing you're a slave. Most of the stuff of somebody keeping control over you is what you don't know or what you won't accept. Some truth is too hard for some people. So they say ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is not bliss. It's eternal hellfire. God's not putting you there. The hell was created for the devil and his angels. It's a place where God created a reality where these spiritual beings could exist by themselves and torture each other forever because that's what they wanted. They didn't want God's order. They left his order. They left their place. So God gave them a place where they can just be with each other and rule over each other. And that's why hell is so terrible. He didn't want man to go there, but man can choose to go there. God himself became a man, died on the cross, so that he can make a justification, an excuse for your sins, just so you wouldn't have to go to hell. But then if you mock that and you act like you don't need that and you're good and you're perfect, and God is unjust for telling you that you should, like I said, follow that stoplight. You're just like those people then who decide to break the stoplight and they decide they're going to rush into traffic and say, I got somewhere to go, forget the stoplight. Then they make everyone crash. Then they think they don't deserve any penalty for that. Of course, they're going to pull you to jail. They're going to make you pay for all the lives that were lost. They're going to make you pay the money for the cars that were damaged because you saw the light and you saw the red light was telling you to stop. In the same way God is telling us through his law that we had to stop, but we didn't stop. We all broke that law. We all were guilty, but then God went past that and paid for our penalty. Going back to evolution. If you know and research Darwin, you'll find out this man started off in a Christian home. He started off in a clergy's home. But you know what? He didn't receive much love there. And I think that's the main reason why he became an atheist. It started way before this evolution thing. And like I said, it's impossible, folks, for a car. This is just my first answer. I'm going to do another video. And I'm almost done. But it's impossible for you to start with, no forethought and end up somewhere with something completely made and systems that are completely made and ordered without somebody ordering them. That is just insane. That is idiotic, not Christianity. It's obvious that someone, not something, but someone with care had to create it. If you look at a rose, this is something Jesus said. He said a flower is dressed better than Solomon in all his glory. What he's saying is if you look at a flower, it's pretty obvious that a flower has detail. Not only that, but just a flower is significant to all life on earth. Did you know that every part of our ecosystem is needed for every other part of it to exist? If you look at one flower, because of the pollen of that flower, the bees can come and take that pollen and pollinate other flowers. They can pollinate other plants. If you didn't know about that, it's severely as important as it is. Go look at the movie Bee Movie. Go look at Bee Movie. It'll explain how everything on life on earth would basically, and it's an old movie, I'm dating myself, but a Bee Movie explains this, how everything on earth is just tied to just these little things. Now, how would evolution decide which thing to create first, the bees or the flowers? Which one it is, and you look at, talking about bees, let's talk about things that are impossible, like a bumblebee flying. It's heavier than its wings. Why is it able to fly? It's impossible. A hummingbird, flapping its wings thousands of times per second, and yet it doesn't overheat. For his size, he just flies and goes and does what he has to do. These things are impossible, but they exist. If you look at everything we take for granted, our little ecosystem, because we live with it every day, it's all like little miracles. Each thing is a little miracle. Even the way the water is eternal. Folks, what do I mean by that? Do you know we have the same water now that we had with the dinosaurs? Do you know that we haven't had any more new water come into the earth? It's been the same water recycling over and over and over again. That same water is going up into the sky, and it was, of course, evaporated by the heat, you guys know, and it came back down to earth. It feeds the water, it feeds the vegetation, goes into the soil, keeps it nice and moist, goes back up into the sky, right? And that's because of our ozone, which doesn't let the sun cook it too much, so we have enough heat and just enough vapor to keep the whole balance of things. And then that water up in the sky keeps the earth cool. I mean, that's a masterful cycle, and it's eternal. Only an eternal God creates eternal cycles, folks. It's eternal. Explain to me a rainbow. Why do we see only certain spectrums? And explain or give me a good explanation outside of Noah. You want to say it's stupid, it doesn't make sense, but explain to me why. Give me a good explanation why we see a rainbow. Explain to me why we see the color blue as our sky and we don't see other things. Now you guys will say, well, because it's simple. It's simple, idiot. That's your first answer to everything. You idiot Christian. You're just stupid. And it's simple because our ozone blocks out the sun. And it blocks out the... but you mean... So, again, the universe had enough forethought to think our ozone needs to block out the harmful, rays that would be too harmful. And only the ones that I want to go on the earth will come through the ozone. And, by the way, I want the sky to be blue, not purple. That's the color, because that complements everything. You see, if the sky was purple, it wouldn't complement everything. The fact that it's blue, it kind of complements everything. How in the world everything color. Let's just talk about that. I mean, there's so many things wrong with evolution, I don't know where to start. But just color, for instance. The colors that we see, the spectrum that we see, dogs don't see it in. You know what? They don't need to. I'm looking right now outside this, looking at this tree out here. That's why I'm looking up when I'm looking like that. I mean, dogs don't see it in that spectrum. Why? Because they don't need to. Only human beings can see the world and envision it the way they do. Then we have come up with ways of technology to actually reinvent and copy what we've seen. That's amazing. That's why we have HD and we have DVD, because we're just trying to admit more real into the reality that we're already in. But we still can't get as real as what we live in. We have to keep trying to copy reality because our reality is so real that it's in so many dimensions that it's very hard to copy. It took a long time to even get to HD where it looks like it's real. But that means we're taking for granted the power of reality. You get what I'm saying? I mean, you look at the oak wood and the cherry wood and these different types of trees, and just look at the wood and the texture it has. Everything has a texture, has a feel, has a uniqueness to it. When you hear the sound of wind blowing through the trees, it makes you feel peaceful. When you hear that sound, it triggers endorphins, it triggers things. When you see a sunrise or see a sunset, it triggers something. Who decided that we would have endorphins, people? Who decided we would have good things? Now, it doesn't make sense for you to say, well, we were monkeys, and because we were monkeys, we just, over time, adjusted to our environment. But who made the environment that way? How can you adjust to something that was itself evolving in itself? How can you begin to feel good about it? And what's the purpose of feeling good about it? What does that give you in life to feel good about a sunset? Now, maybe you guys will say, well, because at night, we couldn't hunt. So we had to go well, then you shouldn't feel good about a sunset, because at night you can't hunt. You can't go out and get food. You're just going into your cave. You should be afraid of a sunset, according to evolution, because that would make you feel like predators might be out if you were a half monkey person. Am I right? Come on, people. Come on. Give me some answers. So, going back to what this guy said, the burden of proof is on you, because you're the one that's going to stand before God on Judgment Day. You're the one who's going to explain to him what you did with his creation, and why you were sitting there bad-mouthing him every day and cursing him out and saying everybody was stupid. Its burden of proof is on you, and you're trying to put it off. Because if I knew I was going to burn forever and I didn't want to accept that truth, then what else could I do but try to put the burden of proof off of? We don't have nothing to lose. This is what's stupid about it. Y'all keep saying that we have the burden of proof. What do I got to lose? If I'm wrong, nothing happens. Hello? Only thing that can happen is maybe I had to endure some cursing by you. But guess what? People don't like me anyway. I don't care what none of y'all think. If I don't do nothing, if I didn't believe in God, guess what? If I was atheist, people still wouldn't like me. They wouldn't like me because I was black. They wouldn't like me because they thought my head was too big. They probably wouldn't like me because they thought I was, whatever. They thought I was geeky. I like too many. People like you, don't like you for a whole lot of reasons. You know what I mean? There's a lot of reasons why somebody could just come up and try to shoot you, take something from you. That has nothing to do with it. I don't care about y'all don't like me. But burning forever, if I can avoid that by simply acknowledging and being thankful to God, that's all he's asking. Not for me to blow nobody up, not for me to do anything, but just not to be prideful. That's so hard. Do you want to be guilty of Jesus' death? Whether you think you needed him to die or not, he died. Whether you think you needed him to raise it from the dead, he did rise up from the dead. And he talked about it through prophets. And he said this, he's going to hold you accountable to it. Now, you are the one losing, so you have the burden of proof. Don't tell me this stuff about we got the burden of proof. That's the problem. It could be one person that can tell the truth. God is over and over again in time and history explained. And these are the stories you ignore. But Noah was one man. That was the point y'all supposed to get out of Noah. Supposed to get out of the point that God only spoke to one man and his family. And that one man against the world was right. And that one man God saved. That's why you don't like that. Because like, God, dang, God, man, he is real strong on that, ain't he? I mean, he let all them fools go to, death. Wow. Well, that should show you something. You don't mess with him then. I mean, if he's as bad as y'all say he is, he's still all powerful. Let's just say you're right. Let's say God is as bad as you say he is. He's still all powerful. And he's let you live this long, so I wouldn't try to go on his bad side if he's as bad. But then, obviously, God has to be good because y'all still here. That would just, that's like circular reasoning. And if God don't exist, why do you hate him? If God don't exist, you should be able to say the blessing just as much as if he does exist. Right? Because it's fictional. If I say I believe in the Easter Bunny, do people say, I hate you? Don't be saying that stupid stuff about the Easter Bunny. I hate you, you Easter Bunny follower. He doesn't exist. And I hate you. And I'm going to make videos about the Easter Bunny that he doesn't exist because I hate you and your stupid followers who follow the Easter Bunny. Well, like they say, thou protest too much. So anyway, if you got to protest that much to prove the Easter Bunny don't exist, we have to think about maybe there's something to this Easter Bunny. And the fact that y'all do this proves it's a devil and that you following him because the hatred, the pure hatred, it comes from somewhere deep in you guys where you just feel like you can't rest until you keep anything a Christian says on YouTube. And if they go and teach anything to kids, you don't let the kids have another option. You just tell them, no, those people are evil and they're the devil. And even though you want to say it's because religions killed people. But is the Bible religion? No. Did the Bible ever say for people to go and blow people up or even those things the Catholic Church did? He didn't say nothing about a pope in the first place. That's not even in the Bible. There's no such thing as a pope. No such thing as, manifest destiny and all that stuff. They came up with that. But when you guys talk about isolated incidents in the Old Testament, well, like I said, in Noah's flood, for instance, half of those people were crossbreeds. If you research it, but if you're going to believe part of it, you got to believe the whole thing. You got to believe in God, you got to believe in angels, you got to believe in demons. Okay? So since, just saying hypothetically, since these were demonic beings who were trying to tamper with the human genome, like alien invaders, like you guys are always talking about, they purposely came down in a form that was acceptable to these people. It was at the beginning of the world. They deceived them and called themselves gods. That's where you get all these pagan gods from. That's where all this stuff came from. They're called the Nephilim, which means giants, but also means fallen ones. So do your research, you'll know about that. And there's even scientists who you guys call yourself scientists. There's other scientists who have proven that they believe that there were these creatures that came down. They thought they were aliens, calling themselves gods, People thought they were gods. They came down and slept with the women. There's all kinds of archaeology, even old school. I mean, original Native Americans talk about them. Talk about the sky people. And there's a lot of people that say these creatures came down. A lot of them had tentacles in their head and so forth, and had sex with these women. But they called themselves gods. Well, it just goes to show you that if Lucifer was calling himself God, a God when he was in heaven, he's trillions of years old, then he knew humans were created by this time, that it would make sense that he would try to come down and still be trying to call himself God, or a God, right? So anyway, all I'm saying to you guys can say it's all stupid if you want to. I don't care what you think about me. I really don't care. You don't make me or break me. I mean, maybe some of y'all think you do, but you really don't. But what I can say is Jesus loves you. He died for you. He can give you eternal life. He can save you, but you got to believe. God bless you. Just say a blessing with me. Say, Jesus is Lord. I believe Jesus died on the cross for my sins and rose from the dead. Amen. You say that blessing, you'll go to heaven. If you don't, you go to hell. It's that simple. You can debate all day. There's a lot of folks that's in hell right now, debating still. But guess what? They ain't debating because they don't exist. They're debating because they want to get out, and they can't get out. Now, right now, you're spending all your time debating with God, but one day you're going to be debating for God. You're going to be saying, oh, God, I believe in you now. I believe in you now. I believe in you. I believe in you. Let me out of here. And he won't hear you. You know why? Because you wanted the devil. You wanted to be with someone who does not believe in God. And you know who doesn't believe in God? The devil. I mean, the devil knows God exists, but he does not believe in God. So if you don't believe in God, you're right with the devil, right where he wants you. Belief is a choice of relationship. You know, knowledge is one thing. You can know something. You can have knowledge of a lot of things, but that doesn't mean you believe in it. You can hear knowledge from a doctor, don't mean you believe what they said and you act on what they said. That's faith when you act on it. So y'all got to have faith. You got to have belief if you want to go to heaven. You got to have belief in Jesus as Lord and as God. If you don't, God will not force your will. Hell is your decision, not God's will. God bless you guys. Have a good day.